The English top six. Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United.
You're right, Neymar, yeah, it's on your
Arsenal. Spurs. Leicester. But after the £500 million takeover of Newcastle United by a Saudi Arabian prince with infinite funds, could there be a new English giant about to enter the party? I feel poor literally just looking at this graph. $320 billion net worth. That's 15 times more than Man City's owners, the Mansours. It's mental how rich these guys are. It's like Amazon in comparison to a junior stockbroker investment banker. For those that don't know, Mike Ashley is no longer in control of Newcastle United. His 15+ year reign is over, and a Saudi-led consortium has now purchased the club. That's been confirmed by Newcastle and by the Premier League after they originally blocked it. True Geordie hasn't felt this much joy since he last had to clean his chest. This video is gonna need to be privated though, big man. Feel free to be happy, but and there were absolute scenes at St James's Park when the news was finally broken, with crowds of Magpies fans celebrating in real time. And you might be wondering why they're celebrating a takeover like they've won the league. But Newcastle are a big club. I know they haven't necessarily won a major trophy in like 50 years, but they are a traditional English big club. You know, they were competing for Premier League titles in the 90s. They were beating Barcelona 3-0 at the Nou Camp in the early thousands. The likes of Alan Shearer, Kevin Keegan, Andy Cole, Les Ferdinand, they've all played for Newcastle. They are a big club, and they've been really ripped apart by Mike Ashley's awful ownership over the last 15 years. We've already got an insight into the squad they're likely to have for next season. Why isn't N'Golo Kante in goal? The smallest possible man. On a level, if you play online friendlies for FIFA 23 and you choose Newcastle United, you're a footballing terrorist. There were Newcastle fans dressed as Saudi Arabian princes. Paul Dummett was straight in on the act to abuse Sunderland fans. And Pep Guardiola could be seen already making a beeline for Tyneside. To be honest, he's gonna be outraged when the entire Man City starting 11 under 18s and reserve squad has been signed by Newcastle. And they'll be signing the fans on an undisclosed fee as well. They're ready to convert as we speak. It's crazy though, honestly. Like, I've always been a fan of Newcastle ever since the Alessandro Del Piero days. Alan Saint-Maximin tweeted the night before and he seemed very, very pleased with the upcoming announcement.
Good morning!
He's gonna be the only actual regular left at the club once January's done. Do you think the Prince of Saudi Arabia still wants John Joe Shelby in the starting 11? Kylian Mbappe's already had his say on his aspirations to play for Newcastle. Well, my inspirations were Alain, Ginola, and Matty Longstaff. Cristiano Ronaldo's probably got his new house sorted there. As if we could see him walking out of a Greggs on Quayside. What is going on? Antoine Griezmann saw this coming from the start with his Football Manager save a few years ago.
Je l'ai à Newcastle, je l'ai acheté 134 millions. Newcastle.
There's a serious conversation to be had as well for the management of this side moving forward. Obviously, a relegation-threatened side with not much in the way of aspirations. Probably exactly where you would expect to find Steve Bruce playing pretty negative football. But now with the serious aspiration of winning league titles and entering the European elite, he simply is not the man for the job. We can't trust this guy with a £27 billion transfer budget. He'll still sign Henry Lansbury. £630 million cannot go on Barry Bannon, big man. It's not allowed to happen. He was the first to the boardroom ready to beg and plead to keep his job. But on Instagram and people already suggesting that he's going to be losing his job as early as before their next clash against Tottenham. And the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, the side that he left to take on the role at Newcastle, liked a post suggesting that he may well lose his job. It might be more FTW, but I'm still willing to give out a shithousery award here. And could you imagine, all this money comes in, you've got the promise of incredible players joining the club next season, only for them to get relegated that same campaign. Kevin De Bruyne and Lionel Messi up against Barnsley next season is probably not what they signed up for. Could you imagine a club like Barnsley got all this money? I think that would be incredible. Like Romelu Lukaku at Bristol Rovers, Luka Modric at Huddersfield, Neymar at Norwich. I mean, that's a combination that would go pretty well, actually, thinking about. And apparently, they've already got serious interest in a £100 million bid for Philippe Coutinho of Barcelona. Barca. Now we definitely know they have too much money. 100 million. Are we talking about his long lost twin or something? Because we can't be having the same. But the money involved here, it's a serious issue. Whilst it's incredible for Newcastle fans, and I'm happy for them that they are now able to compete once again with the elite clubs, there's competition and there's simply having 15 times more money than the last guys we thought were too rich. Liverpool's spending of the last 5 years makes us look like a Squid Game contestant in comparison. And I'd have to be concerned about what the effect of that is going to be for the Premier League. We were all, you know, concerned and complaining when Man City came to the top kind of out of nowhere, being a sort of mid-table side, getting huge investment from a nation that's extremely wealthy, and then just kind of buying the league. Now, to be honest with you, as much as City, you could say that about them, it's not exactly been one-sided since they joined, okay? It's not been Man City dominance becoming a one-team league. You've still had Liverpool, Chelsea, and United, and Leicester all win the league since they were taken over. But with the amount of wealth coming into Newcastle here, could this be a slightly different situation? Does it threaten to league unify the whole thing? Now, for me, I'm not entirely sure. A lot of people have kind of jumped on the bandwagon of, I know I've joked about it, them buying everybody, but they still have to earn their place as a big club before they bring in players like this. You know, some of the first signings when Man City were taken over were, I know, Robinho, but your Gareth Barrys, Jolie and Lescott. So that will still happen with Newcastle. It'll be a building process before they're able to challenge for the league. And also, we've already kind of reached the ceiling when it comes to financial fair play in this country. Yes, they might be 15 times richer than Man City, but Man City already almost broke financial fair play rules 2 years ago. So it's not like they're going to be able to spend 15 times more than Man City already have. They might be able to spend a lot in terms of infrastructure, the training ground, stadium enhancements, maybe even wages as well, but you're not going to be getting them signing 9 players for £200 million in one window. And also, there's already strength in the Premier League. As much as I like League One, it was very, very even and a little bit lower in pedigree and ability than the Premier League when PSG arrived. So naturally, obviously, they were going to take over because nobody could even come close to competing with them. Whereas in this league, Manchester United earn a ridiculous amount globally. Chelsea are very wealthy. Man City are wealthy enough to almost break financial fair play rules. I don't think you'll get a monopoly necessarily. There's 2 things that I'm more concerned about with this takeover, and one, that's how it affects the rest of the Football League pyramid. There's already a big gulf in class between the Premier League and the Championship, and then also just between spending, wages, etc. in the Premier League in comparison to the rest of the EFL. I think you're really running the risk of enhancing that to levels that have never been seen before. I think it's a little bit too late to talk about like state-owned clubs in this situation ruining the EFL, because that horse bolted ages ago. Like, we've already had too many rich owners in comparison to the rest of the Football League, but this one could take the biscuit, and I think it could have a really negative impact on your Championships, League Ones and League Twos. But more importantly than that, really, I think, is who the Saudi Arabian investors are. It's fair to say that Jeff Hendrick isn't the only atrocity at the football club anymore. These are people who have allegedly killed off journalists for speaking up about what it's really like to live in Saudi Arabia. These are people who take away basic human rights from women and members of the LGBTQ community. These are people that really and truly have done awful things, and we are allowing them into our football system to take over a club. There was a guy who literally went to St. James's Park dressed as Prince bin Salman, and that's probably the clearest indicator of sports washing that you're ever going to see. They've committed woeful crimes, and we've got guys dressing up like them as if they're somebody to be proud of. Equally, that's not Newcastle fans' fault. They didn't sign the agreement for this takeover to happen. They're not the people that overturned the Premier League's decision. They're not the people who have seen similar characters take over other football clubs around the world. It's not on Newcastle fans. They can be excited because ultimately they are invested in the football that the club plays, and that's about to be enhanced by a huge margin. So I think it's unfair to look at them and be like, why are you happy for this happening? Because it's not on them. And equally, if you're going to question this ownership and be annoyed about it, myself, I'm concerned about what it could do moving forward. You have to be annoyed at the fact that this Saudi group has invested in places like Facebook and Twitter and Uber. So if you're going to say that we've got to boycott Newcastle, do you want to boycott Facebook? Do you want to boycott Twitter? Do you want to boycott Uber? Do you want to boycott Starbucks? Because we can do that as well. We just have to keep the consistency going. If you're going to complain about one, which is absolutely fine, you got to complain about all of it. So a serious turn in this video, but overall, I'm happy for Newcastle fans because I think out of all clubs in England, as a big club, they deserve to see some level of happiness again. I'm just more concerned about the effects long term that this particular ownership is gonna have. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. I would love to hear you guys' opinions on this one. I feel like it's a very polarizing issue. So let me know down there below. If you did enjoy this one, then feel free to slap a like on the video. And of course, subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.